pretty interesting topic we are going to be talking about today. So everyone knows about climate change, I suppose. One of the interesting um, ongoing debates when it has to do with climate change is the role of finance as a facilitator for sustainability, and in particular, how fintech solutions can be used in climate mitigation, risk factoring, as well as responsible investing and increased stakeholder engagement from financial consumers and the broader stakeholders across the global jurisdictions. So in my company, I have two fantastic individuals whose startups are doing impactful work in this area. I have Harry with me and Edoardo, and without further ado, I would like Edoardo to please go first and tell us briefly what your startup is doing when it has to do with finance and sustainability using fintech solutions.
Great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having us. I'm the CEO and founder at Climakick, and we are building a tokenized solution to connect green investors with renewable project developers to make the sustainability transition a reality. Now, let's set the scene here. Whenever we talk about climate change, we are talking about the greatest challenge of humankind. But it turns out that the greatest challenge is also the greatest business opportunity that we have today, which is already affecting the flow of human capital, intellectual capital, and financial capital. Now, let me put it on a perspective here. We know that if we want to get to carbon neutrality, we need to invest something in a range from 3 to 5 trillion per year, which means that we're going to end up by 2050 with investments around 150 trillion. Today, we are only investing 600 billion globally, which means that this market will grow from 5 to 8 times more. At Climakick, we grasp this business opportunity by connecting green investors with renewable project developers. And when we look into the space, the 70% of the capital needed to make it happen is particularly brought by private investors. Now, when we look into that space, unfortunately, there are not proper financial instruments that can ensure green investors that the money they're investing in can only be used for the green project related. Indeed, we have spoken with a number of players in the sector, and to all of them, we made at least 2 questions. First, whether they would be willing to invest in a climate-related asset, and second, whether they knew where to find these investment opportunities. And unfortunately, the best way that they can use the money is to invest in an ESG kind of fund, which first, do not meet the green investor demand, and second, is very difficult to track, which raise issues related to greenwashing. This is exactly what we do at Climakick. We are building the single point of truth for green investors, where they will be able to scout and invest in a climate-related asset. And on a later stage, we are going to provide ancillary climate-related services, such as climate risk management and carbon credits. We are doing this by leveraging the blockchain. And in particular, we are leveraging the blockchain on 3 main angles. First, by using a financial token, we can open a market to small, medium funds, which are excluded from the syndication business. Second, by using smart contracts, we can automate transaction execution and management, and most of these projects still require a lot of manual adjustments. So using the blockchain and AI, we can definitely create synergies and efficiencies there. And finally, as you have understood already, we work on the hedge of digital asset, private asset, and climate assets. Looking at this market segment, there is not a secondary market trading. And therefore, we want to create the secondary market trading for green private assets. Happy to take any other thoughts.
Thank you so much, Edoardo. I'll come back to you on that. I think, Ari, would you like to give an overview of your startups, please?
Thanks for the invitation today. So my name is Harry. I'm the CEO of the Arrakis Green. So we are actually a startup, just started last year. Now we are focusing on to solve the green financing issue, the investment, And we create using the machine learning, deep learning, and also fancy technology, trying to create the data by ourselves, by our own standard, and following graphs all over the world's information. And we try to add value to our digital information, try to use them to create alpha through the stock market or equity market. So because I know that the Edoardo introduced a lot of ambitious solutions to our the global facing challenges and problems, I'm more like to down to earth to introduce how we want to start this startup, and also briefly introduce about the eco startup system here in Hong Kong. So actually, why I want to talk about this, because once I was listening to a seminar inside this building, there's one undergraduate student from the law school, grade 1 student. She also very curious about ESG issue, the environmental. Even she studied law, and she talked with me, and I asked why you want to care about the ESG, the climate change. I feel like the many young talents, young students in Hong Kong, even though their major is not directly relevant to the ESG, but they just care about the sustainability and our next generation. So for me, actually, I'm not that ambitious at the beginning, because I'm doing research. I just graduated with a PhD degree from HKU this summer. So my research interest area is about the ESG and fintech. So at the very beginning, I just want to do more good research. I want to explore how the ESG can reshape the business in the whole system. For example, how could ESG affect the government relationship with those public firms? And also, how can those kind of ESG disclosure information will affect the investors' decisions? So I just start from that point. Actually, I found that there's lots of problems, ESG problems in the market. So I think that why should I could generate the data, trying to measure all those ESG dimensions by ourselves. So that's the starting point. And also, by chance, I live in the St. John's College, and they organize a trip to the science park. And at that point, I have no idea about the whole ecosystem of the Hong Kong, about the startups and also venture capital. I only know because I'm from mainland China. Actually, I'm from Beijing, and I only know that the resources or innovation incubation in Shenzhen. So I have no idea about Hong Kong. But by the visit, I know that actually Hong Kong has a very huge, big park, science park, doing the incubation things to support the local incubation system. So at that time, I thought, okay, why not? I'm trying to transfer what I have learned, what I have write in papers into some commercial business. So that's how the Arrakis starts. And finally, I found some very good teammates who also have a passion about the ESG, from the computer science department, from even the Buddhism department. Also, right now, we have some other teammates from the business school. So that's how the Arrakis starts. So we are trying to gradually make more contribution on the ESG issue in the Greater China area. And also, right now, recently, we also collected lots of information about from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And I knew that from the January the 1st, the Hong Kong government will require the mandatory disclosure of the ESG information for every public firms. So I'm pretty look forward to that.
All right. Thank you so much, Harry and Eduardo. I think first I'd like to commend the both of you. Your startup is really doing very transformational work in this area. It's quite interesting. We hear of fintech solutions. We hear about cutting-edge digital technologies, smart contract. In financial services, we are quite familiar with some of the applications, but then it's transformative to see how much impact it can have when it has to do with sustainable investing, responsible investing. Like you said, there's a lot that has to do with greenwashing and traditional finance, but then seeing how you can use digital solutions to bring broader stakeholder engagements, to ensuring that at the very corporate governance level, there is substantial compliance, which accords to climate-related mitigation risk and the amplifying of resolutions at the very broader level, it is quite interesting. I think this brings me to my next question, which is, well, from your experience at the very national level and international level, what do you think are the opportunities as well as the challenges that are facing startups such as yourself in this area when it has to do with the application of financial technology solutions to climate-related issues in the context of finance and sustainable investing? Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So we operate in what is defined ReFi space, which stands for regenerative finance. This is the sector where the Web3 application brings value by using digital technologies to develop and to make a world a better place. Now, we have been very lucky, although we are very early stage, to be incubated in different programs all over the world. We've been incubated at Columbia University in New York, in the UK with Undaunted, Imperial College, and here where we are very, very proud to be part of Hong Kong University Deep Tech 100 program. And all over the geographies where we've been working with, I would say that probably the best opportunity stands in the climate data space. There are many players that need this kind of information to develop insightful strategies. During the Climate Week in New York, a month ago-ish, there were this organization called DClimate, which is trying to develop different data sets and make it available to the different players working in the regenerative finance space in order to develop climate risk management models, insightful analytics, which can help both green investors, but also green project developers to understand better what will be the impact of climate change, not today, not tomorrow, but in 5-10 years' time. When we look at our market segment instead, those green projects that we are targeting have a tenure of around 20-30 years, so very long one. And there aren't any instruments that can help them in understanding the impact of climate change in the areas where they are developing these projects. So I do believe, and this is also an area where we are looking into it. I'm actually hiring 2 data scientists which can help us in developing this kind of insights, which can generate value for both green project developers and green investors, and to help them in achieving their goals. As you said, and also as Harry pointed out, this is our challenge. This is our generation challenge. And as one wise man told me a few years ago, our generation is the first one which is really seeing the impact of climate change, but is also the last one that can do something about it.
Oh, thank you so much, Edoardo. I think it's quite instructive what you've mentioned on the climate data, seeing how data quality, we've heard from the previous sessions, the role that data can play in modern economies and modern societies. Seeing it also having a strong implication in the context of climate-related matters is quite interesting. Ari, I wonder if you have a thing or two to say about that.
Yeah, I want to emphasize a little bit more on the current challenges in the sustainability, green, or ESG area, because I'm doing research in these points. I think that, first of all, the biggest challenge is more like the Web3 definition that actually, even in today's area, no people can just say what is ESG or environmental social governance, because there's too many different understanding of the environmental, social, and governance. Even there are some top researchers, like from the top US schools, they think that why we should add governments into the in parallel with environmental and social. So that is kind of the definition stuff, which will define lots of things. Like for example, in maths, if you do not have the correct definition, how could you define other things follow the same standard, the formula, or the laws to organize the whole ESG society? So this is maybe one of the challenges. Secondly, I think that, for example, there's a different regulations on ESG across the borders. For example, the principles in mainland China and Hong Kong are not the same. So which this morning, actually, I was a mentor for a Master of FinTech students. He's from local Hong Kong, and we just discussed about that, why there's some, even use the same standard methodology like NLP, the natural language processing technology to analyze those big data. We found that actually in mainland China, there are some alpha or some extra returns. But actually in Hong Kong, we do not find that phenomenon, even use exactly the same method. So can we get a conclusion about Hong Kong people care less, at least the old investors care less about ESG? Actually, I think we cannot get that conclusion, but we still need to figure out how the difference between using the same, exactly the same technology, but we find the different solutions or the results from the equity market. So that's the second point. The third point is that actually people may now believe, because in today's world, there's so many uncertainties, there's so many wars. So the general economic situation is not that good compared with 5 years ago. So maybe people may not that believe ESG should be the first priority to development. Because maybe people think, why, if I cannot eat well, sleep well, why I should care about this kind of a more like a public goods rather than my personal individual feelings. So this, and so there's some also people like Trump, they think that ESG is a hoax. They do not fully believe it. So I think that when you think about trying to do the green investment, whether your personal belief matters is a very important part, because if you only believe that your investment is truly kind of sustainable investment, then you would like to put more money into those like sustainable or long-term infrastructure or clean water or some eco-friendly projects. So that's my personal understanding of today's challenges.
Yeah, and if I might build
Yes,
upon those points, I believe, and in particular with reference to the Hong Kong market and Asia Pacific in general, I believe that we need what we have seen earlier, which is regulation. Because regulation, if there is regulation, then all the different players, especially the institutional one, know how to play. If there is not, well, I mean, we are still playing with it, but with some uncertainties. And I believe that the Hong Kong government started this process a long time ago with great results. Before being an entrepreneur, I was a banker for a large investment banks, and we have seen this in Hong Kong, where I was based before, and we really welcomed the different policies that the Hong Kong government was putting in place. And now I think that there is a clear pipeline on how to scale this approach on a number of financial instruments, which is what we need. But second, other than regulation, we need financial innovation. When we look at the fintech disruption that happened in the past 10 years-ish, well, that happened mostly in commercial banking, transaction banking. On institutional finance, on institutional investments, there have been not any real innovation that disrupted the market. Now, we believe that the blockchain can do that, and can do that especially in the syndication business. As regards as business opportunities, we also believe that there is a market for securitized products. We have seen this product in the market for a number of years. But by using the blockchain, we can also develop a better distribution of risk across the package that we can build. And this can scale quickly the way we can distribute capital across different technologies, green technologies, which as of today are pretty much risky. Let me take an example. We can create bundle package of green hydrogen projects, which as of today are still quite risky for a number of reasons, and balance out the risk with solar projects and wind projects, which today are mostly, let me say, in an advanced stage, where we financiers, we know how to manage those risks. So by bundling together the risk of this project, we can enable these players to enter in the market, to develop projects, and to make the sustainability transition.
Thank you so much. I think the point you've made by the both of you relating to regulatory policy and geopolitics permutations with what constitutes ESG, how is it regulated, and what is the government's approach at the very transnational level actually resonates with me because I've had some engagements at the EU level and all the contemporary jurisdictions, and we see that the heterogeneity in how this is approached is also having implications on the likely success of some of the initiatives that you are developing at the very granular level. And that brings me to the next question as to what kind of support are you getting from the government here in Hong Kong as a financial center, as well as at the Asia Pacific level, and also globally, if you can speak briefly on that, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So we are developing a clear strategy for Asia Pacific for the next 2 years. Now, we started this let me say experience in Asia Pacific thanks to the Hong Kong U Deep Tech 100 program, which here I would use this chance also to thank Yashin. She is the project manager of the program, and we really appreciated a lot the way they structured and they helped us in developing Climate Kick and developing the strategy. Now, there are a number of things that we're looking at. The program at Hong Kong University lasts 1 year and is in partnership with Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. And we would love to leverage and to access some grants that will help us in hiring people here in Hong Kong and developing the technology, because that's what we need as of now. In terms of grants, I would mention the TSSSU program, always a Hong Kong U funding scheme, which we are very proud to be fast-tracked to the finance of the program. And that program is particularly interesting because it lasts 3 years, and it gives you money every year depending on the achievement of specific KPIs. And according to that, we would love to develop the strategy here in Asia Pacific. Furthermore, another interesting scheme which the government launched recently is the Raise Plus, which it's like of a catapult program in the UK, where you take R&D projects and you try to find meaningful businesses for those R&D. So it what we define in the UK as industrial R&D, if you want. And this is something else that we are looking at. We are actually scouting R&D's project which operate in the green tokenization in the green finance space, because we would love to apply for it in the next round. Asia Pacific, it's a great market. We all of us know it. Of course, when we look into the space, Hong Kong and Singapore are the most advanced, let me say, countries where we can market and distribute those assets. Nevertheless, let's not forget that if we want to get to carbon neutrality, we need to help emerging countries in achieving those goals, because otherwise we won't make it. Climate change is a global goal. It's not just a centralized problem or a problem for most advanced economies. Therefore, what we have in mind is to look at emerging countries in Asia Pacific, understanding their sustainability strategy, and try to help them in achieving those goals by developing projects in emerging countries and distributing the assets in the most advanced markets, such as Singapore and Hong Kong.
Thank you, Eduardo. I think, Ari, the question I'd like to also pose to you is, are there government supports or supports at the university level that you'd like to highlight that your startup has benefited from that can also be quite instructive for anyone thinking of similar initiatives?
Okay, sure. So actually, the Arrakis Green is also previously funded by the HKU Deep Tech 100 program. After that, I found that actually there are some many other efficient tools to support the university students for their own startup or their own ideas. I know that actually there's some more law application startups even use a very fancy technology. For example, I know that one of my peers in the previously incubation program, they are doing some using the ChatGPT and machine learning, deep learning, trying to analyze the law files. They want to make easier for those judgments before they go to the lawyers. So this is kind of definitely a very good applications, and I believe that HKU law school students has many talent ideas. They can create more good applications or even startups. So how do you fund get support through the Hong Kong local system? Basically, there are two major players or incubation parks in Hong Kong. One is the Science Park I mentioned before. It is more like it covers all the general subjects, and it has a specific track on the biotechnology. And another one is like in the cyberport, which near the University of Hong Kong. And their main areas focusing on the ICT, the information track, and also the FinTech Web3. They are more support in this kind of the projects. I think what you can gain is that you can, once you get into the incubation, even the ideation or the incubation program, there's lots of free courses. You can learn by yourself how to register firm in Hong Kong. And also you may know lots of peers in this area, which you can gain support from each other. Actually, because I do the Arrakis Green, and actually one of my friends found that I do startups, so she invited me to join her team about doing some medical devices, and I take charge of the financing as also the big data part by doing to processing the medical data. So that's you can always gain support from your peers, the young entrepreneurships in Hong Kong. And also, finally, I think there's a very unique advantages in Hong Kong compared to other Great Bay areas, because I for the past 3 months, I'm running a business in Guangdong province, in Shenzhen and Dongguan. There's a Songshan Lake, kind of the national level incubation place. So actually in Hong Kong, there's a very big advantage is that if you have get an incubation project, you are freely to recruit 2 or 4 people at maximum. So the government will pay you those hirings. So which means that you can freely get 4 laborers to support your business. I'm not quite 100% whether it's 2 or 4, but actually based on my experiences, this is kind of thing, not only to provide the free renting places, but also you could get the support to recruit the talents. So this is a support policy that in other Great Bay areas, there's no this kind of support. And I asked the local government officials there, they were very surprised that actually Hong Kong has been moving so fast in supporting the startups and the venture capital. And I believe there are some more and more better policies and support, given that Hong Kong will treat the innovation and incubation as a primary goal to development. And I also know that there's some urban planning in the northern part of the Hong Kong that they will create more infrastructure to support the technology development in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ari. I think in the last minutes that we have, one final thing that I would like to know, quite briefly. It's where are the priority areas that your startup is looking at in the foreseeable future? So, Eduardo, if you'd like to speak briefly on that.
Yeah. So I would say product development as of now.
Okay.
We have two go-to-market strategy. The short-term go-to-market strategy is to leverage the team's know-how, which is on climate finance, and to partner with tech players that can enable us to structure the token and to distribute it to green investors. Now, of course, this stage will enable the second one, which is the medium long-term strategy, which is to develop internally the platform, the Web3 platform, where both green project developers and green investors can meet and trade. When we look into the space, as I said earlier, private asset space, one of the greatest challenge under a finance point of view is pricing discovery and liquidity. To do that, you need to create a platform where project developers can understand what can be the asset price for the security that they are looking at, and how to benchmark that according to the different taxonomies all over the world. Indeed, this is something else that we are doing, is to map all over the world the different green taxonomies and to integrate those into the platform so that our investors will be able to understand how that security is considered in the different countries where they are doing business. Let me take an example and why this is so important. Because as we have seen earlier, and as we said, regulation is coming into force. Let me take an example on the European markets, where most of these assets are traded and where there is more liquidity. Starting from January 2024, most financial institutions will have to disclose the green asset ratio, which is going to be one of the key KPIs that will judge somehow the way banks are operating and are committed toward climate change. Now, if we want to market in those countries, we need to clearly identify how the asset is considered according to the regulation in Europe. Mainland China, Hong Kong are actually replicating the same approach. And by doing that, we can actually create value for investors and generate those kind of insights. Second priority, I would say, understanding where the most, advanced regulation in digital assets will allow us to market our securities. As we know, starting from 2024, Europe will be a great market because of the MiCA, the regulation for all digital assets. And we welcomed very much 10 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, the letter from the Security and Future Commission, which said that in 2024, all the digital asset space in Hong Kong will be regulated. And this will allow us to market those securities to investment funds, which do need to comply with specific regulation. And by doing that, we can really scale up the approach and make the sustainability transition happen.
Thank you so much. Ari?
Okay, so I think Arrakis will enlarge our business through the horizontal and the vertical ways. For the vertical ways, I think that, like I said before, we want to explore more on the Hong Kong equity market, how our data, our algorithm can positively affect the green investment. Because if we can confirm that actually we could generate some alphas, there are more private sectors like PE funds are willing to put money into those sustainable projects. So this is one part. Second one is that actually because we provide many digital services to our clients, so we think that ESG is a good area, and nowadays that we are embracing Web3 technology, especially the blockchain, which is another area of my research. I think the previously the general Greater China area, this area is a little bit a gray area because there's no very clear policies or regulations on this area. But nowadays, several months ago, the mainland China has just officially announced that digital assets like the crypto assets can be can be recognized as official legal assets. So which means there's some more opportunities in this area. So we will try to use our technologies to figure out the information from all parts of the social media, the government official websites, trying to understand better about those blockchain information. And so then we can provide the clients to see whether they could use our information to trading to make profits through those crypto assets.
Oh, thank you so much to the both of you. I think it's been quite phenomenal hearing the transformative stuff you've been doing and to hear the future initiatives that you're planning. We are hopeful that the regulatory policy directions will also favor your initiatives and lead to a more inclusive and sustainable finance across board. We're galloping a lot into the next panel right now. So for the sake of that, I think whoever has questions in the audience can try and meet you after the panel to engage you in a more informal manner. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining us.
thank you, and thank you,
Thank you.
Professor Douglas.
Yes.